There you have it. The National Livestock Transformation Plan is our starting point this morning. Let's speak with our guest. We have Mr. Odumakin, the spokesperson of Afenifere, with us this morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning.
So, what is your major reservation about this NLTP?
Well, I think we are talking of an event that happened in recent months, not under RUGA or Balewa. In May this year, when the former Agric Minister, Mr. Odumakin, announced that they're going to start RUGA projects, Miitiala came out to announce, oh yes, we like this. And it's been coordinated for us by the Office of the Vice President. Embarrassed, Lalu Akari, the spokesman of the Vice President, said, no. What we are doing is not RUGA. It is National Livestock Transformation Plan. The same night, Malangarwa Shehu was on this station, Channels TV, to say that the VP is just been semantic. There is no difference between National Livestock and RUGA. To date, Garba Shehu has not withdrawn that statement. Now,
but the Vice President has come out to say RUGA is different from NLTP.
I said that was what he said, that Garba Shehu came on this station.
That was months ago. Now, this is now.
Garba Shehu has not withdrawn that statement.
Okay, now. So we understand that the NLTP is under the Office of the Vice President, pretty much.
Yes, which Garba Shehu says RUGA, and Mr. also called RUGA.
So if the Vice President comes out to say this is not what it is, don't you think that's enough to cancel whatever it is Mr. Garba Shehu said in the past?
No, the VP's statement cannot cancel. Garba Shehu was not speaking as Garba Shehu. Garba Shehu was speaking for the president on this channel.
And the Vice President is speaking for himself.
Yes. So between Vice President and the President, whose word is superior?
We understand that this is coordinated by the Vice President.
Yes.
So, I mean, he is the one in charge, as it were. So he says it is different. Don't you think that's enough?
No. We are not kids. We are not kids. Look, if RUGA is different from livestock or whatever, all the government should have done is to provide framework and allow individuals, the cow owners, to go and do their business. But the Vice President of Nigeria to go about and be launching cow business in the midst of what we are facing. Look, the Vice President is doing this as chairman of National Economic Council. To think that we are in Nigeria today is cow that's so important to us. Let me tell you, latest figures from NDIC shows that 98% of 200 million Nigerians do not have 500,000 naira in their accounts.
500,000 naira?
In their account, 98% of our citizens. So only 2% of our citizens have 500,000 naira in their accounts. As we are talking today, the figures show that on the average, Nigerians spend 6% of their income on food. In fact, 80 to 90%. And in the northeast of Nigeria, people are spending 121% of their income on food. So it means that after eating, nothing else.
So is that your major grouse with the NLTP?
So, what if you have an economic council? These are the things they should be addressing. We are now the global secretariat of poverty. Over 87% of our citizens live in abject poverty. So is it cow that will resolve this? So if we want to look at business, we should do ranches, let individual farmers go and buy land and do the ranches. But if we're not going to Nigeria, in the last 4 years, the Economic Council under the Vice President, on which other issue have they been coherent than this livestock cow business?
You make it sound as if this is the only thing the National Economic Council is involved in. But let's try to let's try to take a look at this NLTP at a glance. Let's just walk through the major issues, because I believe that this will help us to clarify the major things. So we checked what the Vice President has been saying about the National Livestock Transformation Plan, and we tried to highlight some of these issues. So let's just walk through them. Now, this National Livestock Transformation Plan was developed in 2018 by the federal government and the state governments under the National Economic Council, which was chaired by the Vice President. Now, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, if we can just have that on the screen, he flagged this off in Adamawa last week. I'm sure you remember that, and that was in the report. Now, this NLTP will be implemented as a partnership between the federal government and state governments, with opportunities also for the private sector. So looking at some of these issues, do you think it's still not the right step in the right direction.
So the federal government and the state are still going to cow herders. What's their business in cow? That the federal government are still going with partnering on cows. Which other are they partnering on fishing?
So you think that is wrong?
It's very wrong in the midst of what we are facing.
But
so what is coming to the federal government on cow?
Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other issues. Now, you take a look. You see that federal government will provide 80% of the funding.
Yes.
States will contribute the land and 20% of the funding. Now, let's take a look at some other issues about the National Livestock Transformation Plan. If we could just skip to the next phrase, you see that it seeks to bring a permanent end to conflicts between farmers and herders by modernizing pastoral agriculture through ranches. So, seeing that, according to the Office of the Vice President, this is meant to bring a permanent end to conflicts between herders and farmers. And you still disagree with that?
So you have mentioned what the federal government is putting into all this. What's come to the federal government on this? What's come to state government on this? Why should the federal government of Nigeria take over private business and run? That's the question. They've not answered.
The federal government has not said it is taking over private business.
Why you put money into this?
So is that taking over private business?
Private business. For just a small group within the country. The rest of the country is affected with poverty. You are going to the market, the same vice president, distributing 5,000 people, trade that money. You are now going to the billions of naira in cows. What does that say?
Mr. Odumakin, if the big picture is security here,
yes,
don't you think it's a good enough initiative?
So this not bringing any security. If you want to
how do you know that, by the way? You think this won't bring security?
How does it bring it? Because they just throw money, just throw money at the problem. Think that will resolve it. The only thing the only way you can solve the problem between the issue of herdsmen terror against farmers is to ensure that herdsmen are confined in ranches, and these ranches they should be responsible. It's a multi-billion-dollar business. They are not distributing the cow free. They are good about it as if when the herdsmen raise their cows, they go to and then they go and take out. They are giving it free to Nigerians.
Pardon me to jump in here.
Yes.
You know, one of the points raised about when we showed the NLTP at a glance is that it seeks to bring a permanent end to conflicts and what have you through ranches. So apparently, ranching is a part of this plan.
That they should not go beyond ranching.
So you're agreeing with that?
No, we agree. We have 2014 national conference. We propose ranches.
So if this has ranches,
this goes beyond ranches.
How do you mean?
If why can I say I've told you, in the midst of what Nigeria is facing today,
which security is one of them.
Yeah. So the vice president of Nigeria will now go about cow business. What's the federal business of cow?
Okay, so let's take a look at other issues. Now, each state in this NLTP is responsible for a suitable delivery mechanism for the NLTP. This basically means that each state decides on what works for them. So this is not, as it were, voluntary. This is not saying that this is not involuntary, rather. This is voluntary. I mean, you can decide how you want it. And then there is no land grab, according to the vice president, but a win-win system in where both farmers and herders benefit economically, and then the age-long conflict is sorted. I mean, Mr. Odumakin, respond to this. Don't you think this is logical?
I'm just insisting that there are fundamental. Look, in the days of 1999, in the days of Obasanjo, in the days of Yar'Adua, in the days of Jonathan, we had an economic team, right? You may not agree with them. Periodically, they say, this is what we are doing about economy, this program, this and that. In the last 4 years, tell me one economic issue that we have come robustly under this government than this cow business.
So you think that's enough reason to shoot down this one?
We don't need this. The version is a waste of time. I'm sorry to use the word. This is not what a serious government should be doing. A serious government today should be addressing the fundamentals of our economy. We are going down. Look at our debt to body. Our economy is shrinking on a daily basis. We are not growing. In the last 20 years, nothing has grown in our economy. So, to think that we leave all that and we only concentrate on cow business, it's annoying.
You know, it's also, I'd like to say that you make it sound as though this is, you know, just cow business. But then, according to the government, from what we have rolled out, I mean, this is the National Livestock Transformation Program. But let's take a look at some other issues. We talked about the fact that there is no land grab that's coming from the Vice President.
That's what they are saying.
That's what, the Office of the Vice President is saying. And finally, it says that NLTP is different from RUGA. And I think that has been a major source of controversy, saying that the RUGA plan was scrapped by President Buhari in July 2019. But you think that this is...
No. Go and get the same issue where the chief of staff to the president that time. They didn't say the scrap RUGA. They said they suspended the unilateral implementation by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, perhaps for the Vice President now to take it over. So it's not scrapping the deed. They said they suspended unilateral implementation.
But I just read out something the Vice President put out a few days ago, saying that the President scrapped RUGA in July 2019.
Well, it's, we saw the statements issued by the office or the chief of staff to the President. What people are saying that we are suspending the unilateral implementation of RUGA by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. So for someone now to tell us that the President scrapped the thing, something's wrong.
Don't you think there's a possibility that this, controversy might, split the country across ethnic or perhaps religious lines? Because it appears the Afenifere is not, I mean, taking this particular, initiative. And then you have the Northern, State Governors Forum saying, oh, we love this. And you have the ACF also saying, this is what we need.
Well, for us, this is only Afenifere that's talking this. I'm also of the Southern and Middle Belt Leaders Forum. And we have taken a firm position that, for us, the federal government has no business with cow and business. They should allow those who have the business to run it. We're against RUGA. We're against, which Garba also said, means National Life Transition Program. That's the same thing. So we're against it. And all that's to go on is what they call takia. That is deception. People are being deceived to buy into this. But anything short of those who own cattle to go and do ranches, buy land, run their business, and stop the terror against farmers, it's not acceptable to us.
Okay, I'd like us to go to Abuja. My colleagues in Abuja have a few questions for you.
All right, well, yes, indeed. We've got Seun Bisuga here with us. He is a public affairs analyst, and he's worked with stakeholders on this National Livestock Transformation Plan at the federal level. Thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much.
Well, you heard the concerns that has been raised by Mr. Odumakin. He thinks, first of all, that the fact that the statements issued by Garba Shehu, the President's Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, subsists, even though the Vice President has spoken, shed more light on what that means. He still thinks that it seems contradictory.
Well, I think this is very clear. There's no contradictions at all. And we should understand something. The NLTP had been in the offing since 2018. It wasn't something that just came up overnight, you understand? And then the governors and the vice president at the National Economic Council agreed that, see, we had some security concerns between the herders and the farmers. And said, so let's provide a solution such that we can, one, not only stop these security issues, but also create an economic environment that will also make us achieve some of our potentials. And one of those is this NLTP. So NLTP agreed that, say, we're going to have a technical committee, which was chaired by Governor Dave Umahi of Ebonyi State, to say, okay, let's go and look at the modalities. Let's go and look at the workabilities. Let's see what we can do to make this a reality. And that's what NLTP is all about. So eventually, of course, it came to that, you understand? And I kept on hearing Mr. Odumakin referring to cows. NLTP is clearly stated there. It's national livestock. Livestock is not cows. There's a difference there, you understand?
Okay. So maybe that will help us clear this now. How does RUGA different from NLTP, or how does NLTP different clearly from RUGA?
Good. So RUGA is a brainchild of the Ministry of Agriculture. RUGA has been suspended by the federal government.
Which is another concern he has. It's RUGA, suspended, not scrapped.
Yeah, so the thing is, you can suspend something because maybe you want to have a second look at it, and you can suspend something also to scrap it.
But they think that this was suspended in order to see how it can work out in a different way.
No, at all. So the thing is this. NLTP had gotten to the point where the 7 states that were going to initiate the program had already agreed. The governors had already agreed. They had already made provision for the land. The federal government was going to fund up to 80%. The states were going to fund up to 20% at the initial, making room for private investors who wants to say, see, we can also come into this ranching business and put in some money and then, you understand, make economic gains. So it is very clear. NLTP had been there. January 2018 was when it was...
Okay. What would you say to those who say, in terms of the objectives, that it does appear as though it's going to achieve largely the same thing, solving the farmers' header crisis? Because they think, if they look at the comments credited to the vice president, predominantly was highlighting the farmers and the herders. Yes, it's a livestock plan, but predominantly we see this is primarily to ensure that the farmers and the herders crisis is sorted. So that's why they think it's almost the same thing with the RUGA.
Okay, no, yeah, so I wouldn't blame anybody for thinking it's the same thing, but they are clearly different. The distinctions is there. So the thing is this. You see, with NLTP, you as an individual can approach the state government to say, see, I want to be part of this. With RUGA, it was a federal ministry thought-out program where they were going to go to states and then they were going to create something.
Even if I want to run a piggery.
Yeah, it's livestock. It is anything livestock. That's the whole idea. That's why it's national livestock transformation plan. It's simple. And if you look at the words in detail, you see that it spells out what the whole of the plan is all about. So the thing is this. The government had seen that we have potential, you understand, in this sector. We can make our livestock sector become so big that we can export to the rest of Africa. Okay. And that's why you realize that the governors make provision for the land. The governors will eventually, and you must understand, it's like ranching. You understand? It's not like it's just one big open field where everybody just, you understand that, see, there are going to be some barricades of some sort. Like if you understand how ranching works. So you can have a very big field where your maybe your cows, your pigs, your sheep, your
Can I have that too if I want to do poultry and several other things?
Yeah, under the NLTP. But if you want to do your own poultry and you want to go and buy your own piece of land, then you dictate what you do there.
But then there is a concern that he also raised, which I think many people are also, thinking, how is that going to work? So on the one hand, the federal government is providing 80% of the funding. Yeah. States are providing 20% of the funding and providing the land. Yeah. And according to a statement credited to the vice president, any participating state will provide the land and its own contribution to the project. Federal government merely supports. Yeah. Merely supports. Yeah. So how do you provide 80% and it's just merely supporting?
Good. So like we know, in any business, in any partnership, you have the dormant partner and you have the active partner. So I can put my money into a business and never come back and ask you, maybe, what happened yesterday or what happened today? But the truth is, I'm a partner in that business. So maybe when profit is shared, I get my own cut. So the point is the states who are going to run it. It's the states who are going to create it.
So the federal government will not have any representation?
That is where, now the federal government representation is the 80%. Do you understand what I'm trying to say?
Who is going to supervise that federal government representation of 80% if the states are going to be
like
running
I said, a partnership, you always have, is it a board of...
Okay, that's clear now. Now, secondly, is the fact that this is supposed to be, just as you also said, if a private investor wants to go into it, he goes into that same plan, ranching, or whatever you've called it now. So how come it is government that is putting money down and putting facilities on ground for private business?
Good. So you like we said from the genesis, this NLTP came as a result of something, some insecurity of some sort. And so government is saying, say, we need to make sure that this ends. And to make this end, it's grazing. The point is that people, the herders had to graze. And when they grazed on farmlands. And then there was a clash. And now what we're saying is, see, you don't need to graze anymore. You can actually have the whole of your herd in one place, or the livestock as it is, in one place, and then do your business there. So now the federal government, to make this happen, at NEC, as I say, okay, this is how we're going to start it. We're going to start with the initial funding. Do you understand? So when they start with the initial funding,
which culminates at 20%.
At 80 for the federal government and 20 for the states.
Yeah.
So if you're a private investor, and you must understand the thing about the private, it's not that from the private end you don't go to the federal government anymore. You go to the state governors or the state government as it is. So see, I have seen NLTP and I think, oh, can I get a piece of land and all that. So we must understand that the whole essence of this is to make sure, which is the first goal, to make sure that there is peace.
Yeah,
to make sure that the grazing stops, to make sure there's no farmer-elder clash. So that's the primary goal, yeah.
The concerns that they raise is, for instance, I mean, federal government is going to be increasing VAT. I see the projection for 2020. So they then ask, if you're doing this to ensure that there isn't any more killings or clashes, they then ask, are they going to do the same thing for some of the private businesses? Because that doesn't take away the fact that it is a private business. Yeah. So, will the government do the same thing for any other private business that happens, people involved get to kill themselves? Will they do the same thing?
Well, I'm not sure I understand about that private business you're talking about.
That's meaning that's essentially saying other sectors beyond agriculture.
But basically, you agree with me that all across the world, Donald Trump, for example, has put a lot of money into manufacturing. He's not done the same thing in the Silicon Valley. It's not like they don't need funds there. Well, so we must understand that there are peculiarities.
That's a difference.
There are peculiarities when it comes to these situations. So this is particularly because we've got a security issue on our hand. And the government is saying we need to solve this problem. And the government has come up with a brilliant plan, which is the NLTP. To say, see, this plan is going to make this go away. Not only that, it's going to create jobs, loads of jobs, because it's going to create indirect and direct jobs. So you have, let's say, 1,000 people working on a ranch. You have the indirect jobs. You have people who have to drive. You have people who have to do logistics. People who have to bring feed. People who have to bring fertilizers, because there are going to be also farmlands close to those places. So you look at, if you look at the bigger picture, this is going to be very huge for us as a country. And like I said on my own Twitter page, and I've told a lot of people, see, if I were a Nigerian and I'm into agriculture, I'll be looking at how do I benefit from this? How
does the federal government recoup its investments?
So, you know, it's a business, right? And it's designed to generate profits. Agreed. So at the end of the day, there must be a profit sharing arrangement between the federal government.
This is not a freebie.
NLTP is a plan. And a plan at the end of the day, okay, are we saying that if the headers, if the livestock that are being sold are sold, what happens? The money goes
that's
away.
a different thing, but how is this funding going to be channeled? Are they going through, do they have to present a business plan, or if I have heard or whatever, I just go in and get it? How is it?
So it's the National Economic Council. So National Economic Council is where this whole thing was thought out. And it is the same place where all these modalities, of course, most of them have not been in public space, but the modalities are clear. Do you understand? So it's a business plan, so to say, in the real sense of it. To say, this, first a security issue, but then a business plan. To say, this security matter needs to go away. And so, you must agree that since the NLTP had been made public, and since they've been driving it, the farmer-elder clash has nosedived drastically.
Because now I'm not sure we can say that's why.
Yeah, we can.
Because the plan hasn't kicked off yet.
Yeah, but now the thing
is rainy season now.
They believe that there's something for them to go and now start doing.
Yeah, but it is rainy season now, so you don't expect a lot of movement of grain.
So I've not seen so much rain.
There's a lot of... It must see so much rain in this same project that we're in.
Well, we'll probably be taking a break in about a few seconds.
Oh, yeah, well, we should right away, in fact. So we'll be back. Stay with us. All right, welcome back. We're sharing our concluding moments now. You were talking about this arrangement in terms of the 80% contribution by the federal government and 20%. I think we were trying to find out how exactly it's going to work, because of the air you were talking about the fact that if one wants to get into that business, you need to still go to the state and then work out, another 80-20% arrangement?
So the thing is this, and if you look at the plan very well, even the federal government has stated that it's the state that determines and in some way designs how it works to them, each state with its own peculiarity, do you understand? So perhaps if Adamawa, for example, can allow a private investor to bring in maybe 80%, possibly Ebonyi might say, no, you can bring in 40%. So it's the state, do you understand? Because most of these crises don't happen in the federal government or in the presidency or in the federal parastatals. It happens in the states. So every state has its own peculiarity. Every state understands that, see, we have more other problems than more farmer problems. So at the end of the day, you go to the states and then you have a discourse. But basically, what we have now is the federal government 80% funding, the state 20% funding, and the state is also going to, of course, put the land down that's going to be used anywhere.
According to the law, I mean, that's what's sustainable.
Yes.
So does this mean that since it's primarily, as you also said, to end the clashes, the killings between the farmers and the herdsmen, so that means that states will give priority to the herdsmen if you want to farm, anyone who wants to get into the cattle business?
No, with NLTP, there's nothing like herdsmen, really.
I said if you want to run the cattle, if you want to run a ranch,
okay,
priority will be given to you, as opposed to if you want to do poultry, because they want to ensure that that problem ends. Is that the way it's going to work?
No, livestock covers everything. So if you want to do poultry, if you want to run cattle, if you want to run piggery, whatever thing you want to run, the livestock covers everything. So it's just that you're on a big farm that's got maybe this for cattle, this for piggery, and this for poultry. So it covers everything. It's a proper plan for all, including farming.
So can we then say, including farming?
Yeah, if you look at the Adamawa NLTP, that's the first one that was launched, the maiden edition there. They are farmlands. Yeah, they are farmlands as well as a ranch. So it covers everything.
Because there are lots of farmers out there who need large swathes of land, but they have to make sure they accommodate. Well, maybe we'll ask one of the governor to see how this is going to work. But can we then say that when this is operational in any of the states, it will mean that whoever has any cattle will have no business not being in a ranch?
I don't get that question.
If this NLT kicks off in any state, now if there are those who have cattle, you have no business moving your cattle from one place to the other.
Grazing.
If this kicks in.
Grazing.
Yes.
That's the plan. They don't want grazing because we know what grazing has cost this country. And so as much as possible, I'm sure that we will not see that anymore. We will not see grazing anymore, because if you want to have this business, or if you want to run this business, you have to have a confinement for your livestock as it is, and then you have to put them in one place so that we don't go back and repeat all the problems of the past. So everybody has to have some form of confinement of some sort.
Okay. So far from what information is available, it's a 10-year plan.
Yes.
What happens afterwards?
Perfect. So the 10-year plan is to say, the state governments can decide after 10 years, say, maybe Mr. Chamberlain, for example, has become the biggest private investor in livestock.
You have to define what kind of livestock he's in.
Yeah, whatever he's in. Well, we know that now they can say, okay, I think we won't answer off. Let's have maybe 10%. Let him run the whole of the business. So the 10 year is to stabilize the country, is to take away every insecurity that's generated by the elder farmer clashes, and say, okay, after 10 years, we can revise it as a National Economic Council or as a state government. Do you understand? Because National Economic Council can say, okay, we've achieved our goals of making sure that there's security. We've achieved our goals of making people understand that, see, livestock can be run or managed in ranches. So now, I don't think we should maybe proceed. And they can still look at it and say, okay, because of what we still have, we can proceed with maybe perhaps under 10 years.
Yeah, but if you say you don't think you can proceed, when the primary purpose is to ensure that they ranch them, they have to find a way to proceed.
Yeah, so that's why it becomes more, that's why you see the private investor, that's why the third parties, is federal government, state government, then the private guys will definitely come in. Do you understand how it works? So if the federal government and state government have achieved their goal, you can pretty much leave it to the private investors to take over. Because if, for example, you're creating jobs of 5,000 in one state, for example, from NLTP, you won't say, oh, 10 years is over and then you're going to fold it
what
up.
do you think about this? Because at that time when the RUGA controversy raged, some persons from Benue, the concerns they had was, they said, number one is that, look, no, I think it was Jos, when they spoke about a particular local government, And when it was supposed to be for ranching, for those who were in that business, and eventually it went awry. And then they say till date that local government is no longer in the hands of the indigents there; it's in the hand of the settlers. So, do you see this NLT facing this challenge? And if it does, how do you think it's going to be addressed?
No, I don't think that's going to happen, in all fairness, because as we have it, let's use Abuja for example. So let's say somewhere in Wuse is picked for NLTP, and maybe 2 hectares of land is dedicated to it. That's all there is. It doesn't take away a whole local government. It doesn't. What
if that doesn't accommodate all you need to accommodate in the state?
That is where the state government that knows that this is all we need for this. Do you understand? So the level of herding in some states or livestock in some states varies to the other. So for example, we can be like 60% livestock states, and we can be 20% livestock states. So you need to look at the modalities. That's why the states dictate and the design, because you look at the modalities and how much of.
So essentially, it's for each state to domesticate to their taste.
Exactly.
Okay.
80% notwithstanding.
Yeah, 80% notwithstanding. Yeah. But 80% is doesn't. I'm not sure the 80%
from government.
I'm not sure 80% means that. For example, you can't have 1 hectare of land and then you want to get the same 80%, and someone who's probably putting maybe a local government down. It's not going to be the same figure as in blankets, but it's just going to be 80% of whatever thing is going to require to run that place.
Okay, we'll see how that plays itself out. Seun Bisuga, public affairs analyst, thank you for coming on this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
Kaide.
Well, thank you. We still have Mr. Yinka Odumakin, the spokesperson of Afenifere, with us here in the studio. Thank you for your patience. Now, I'd like you to first respond to some of the issues raised by Mr. Seun Bisuga. We're in our concluding moments, by the way. But then he talked about the fact that this NLTP is meant to address the issue of open grazing, which is, a major cause of the farmer-herders crisis we have seen in recent times. And then he said that livestock is not just cow. He expanded it to poultry, piggery, and what have you. How do you respond to some of the issues he raised?
Well, I think I find it very difficult to respond to him, because probably it's just not more than consultants on this project. It's not about the design. We have loved to engage those who design this program, those who are implementing it. But so I didn't expect him to say anything outside what I said. But even in that, there are so many contradictions. You say this is a business, then the flag must be a very lousy investor to go and put 80% in a business where we have not seen anything come back to it. And it raises the fact that we run a very awkward arrangement.
How do you mean?
Where the fragment sits on so much money and does not know what to do with it. And where does this money come from? The money comes from all the states. You take over the resources of the states, you sit on it, because the only land that belongs to fragment in Nigeria is FCT. I doubt if they produce pure water in Abuja. So you take over the resources, you don't know what to do with it, and that's why you can afford to go and throw 80% of how much, you don't know how much they're spending in this kind of venture, which is a private business. And we are talking about security. You know what we are doing? Because herders have been inflicting pains on different communities, we now want to use that to blackmail people to accept this. So if pig owners tomorrow now also decide to begin to cause violence over this place, what do you do?
Well, it is said that this NLTP will cover the pig.
We also take to them. The next moment, fishermen also decide to carry their own AK-47 all over the country. Then you start another one. It does not make any sense. In any case, many of the people who are inflicting pains in the communities, raping women, kidnapping people, and this of them, how does this want to capture them? Are they interested in this? Many of them have said to even be, even the fragments say they are coming from outside the country to go and invade this territory. You are not checking the border. It's only rights you are closing the border against in Benin Republic. You are not doing any major thing. They are not disarming them. The AK-47s, so I don't want to take out the AK-47 now to the NLTP camp.
When you said they're not disarming them, but we've seen reports of northern governors, having, these operations where they will have bandits arrested, and then we've seen some of these, issues coming up, and they seem to have this, being handled gradually.
Well, the one I've read in recent time is the governor of Katsina State negotiating with bandits, holding a national conference with the bandits. And the governor was standing, the bandits were carrying guns and kind of rest. This country makes you sick at times.
Okay, so we understand that you have reservations, major reservations.
Clearly.
But, I'd like us to move forward.
Yes.
Now, you have said it's not just the Afenifere that is against this plan.
Southern Midwest
and other, affiliated groups.
Yes.
So, what do you propose if we're going to chart a way forward? Remember, we have security issues.
Yes.
There's also the economy. And, there's a big picture of, lifting a lot of Nigerians out of poverty. So, what do you think should be done instead?
What should be done? First of all, lifting so many Nigerians out of poverty, it's not about livestock, RUGA, or whatever.
This is projected to provide jobs.
No. If you want to list, we should address the fundamentals. Poverty is all over the country. Just go to Ikeja or Badia. All the manufacturing concerns, most of them sit on their door, taking over Amcon. Manufacturing rates go to zero in the country. We are not creating jobs. So you're not talking about how many, everything I talk about, say, because security is, for me, practically, this is no more than cow business until you're proved wrong. So if you want to address the economy, it's a different ball game together from what they are doing. In the last 4 years, tell me one project. This go 4 budgets now. Tell me one project you started and completed.
When I asked the question, the first was security,
Yes.
which is perhaps the big picture for the NLTP. So if you're saying this is not the way to go, what are you prescribing for security?
For security, it's clear. First of all, there must be enforcement of law and order. You cannot, for all the killings, thousands of people have been killed. Who is that person that has been put across Nigeria today? You are not blackmailing us. To solve this problem, we must do RUGA, we must do National Life Transformation Program. That's a blackmail. You must enforce the law. Secondly, there will be social security. You cannot have Nigeria as the global center of poverty, and we are not addressing fundamentals of how to create jobs,
right,
how to create industries, manufacturing concerns. Some of them, you are talking about only livestock.
Okay.
So, and for us, the only acceptable thing about livestock, cow, whatever business, is ranches which are privately funded.
Okay.
Not committing our money. Federal government, the federal government is not printing money. We are the stakeholders. It's our resources all over the country.
Okay.
That federal government is sitting on. And you cannot deploy it anyhow for interests that are narrow, that are not national.
Mr. Odumakin,
Yes.
I'd like to thank you so much
My
for sharing
pleasure.
your thoughts with us on the program. We were speaking with the spokesperson of Afenifere on this issue of the National Livestock Transformation Plan. We understand this is an ongoing conversation.
Yeah.
I will definitely bring you the highlights as they unfold.